When you debate the greatest wide receivers in the history of professional football, a few names inevitably dominate the conversation: Jerry Rice, with his unrivaled stats and Super Bowl rings, and Randy Moss, the freakish athletic talent. But what if I told you that the man who retired as the all-time leader in both receptions and receiving yards is a ghost in that conversation? He was a Super Bowl champion, a four-time AFL All-Star, and the very first receiver to break the 10,000-yard barrier, yet he's been almost completely erased from the popular narrative. This is the story of Don Maynard, the most disrespected player in pro football history. Don Maynard's path to greatness was anything but ordinary. Coming out of tiny Texas Western College, where he was a two-time All-Border Conference halfback and a track star, he wasn't exactly a blue-chip prospect. He played multiple positions, including running back and defensive back, and even returned punts and kickoffs. His versatility was impressive, but it didn't translate to a secure spot in the NFL. The New York Giants drafted him in the 9th round of the 1957 NFL Draft but primarily used him on special teams. After just one season and a mere 5 catches, they cut him. Maynard later said, "I couldn't understand some of the guys they kept." His career then took a brief and uneventful detour to the Canadian Football League, where he played a single game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. To make ends meet during the off-season, he worked as a plumber and a teacher. At that point, his professional football career looked all but over. Then came the birth of the American Football League in 1960, a league that would change the trajectory of Maynard's life forever. He became the very first player to sign with the New York Titans, the franchise that would soon become the New York Jets. The New York press scorned him as an NFL reject, but Maynard's blazing speed and freewheeling, improvisational route running were a perfect match for the AFL's pass-happy style. He and fellow receiver Art Powell became the first professional tandem to each gain over 1,000 yards in a season. Maynard was already a star, but his career rocketed to another stratosphere in 1965 with the arrival of a flamboyant rookie quarterback named Joe Namath. The chemistry between the gritty, no-nonsense Texan and the charismatic Broadway Joe was immediate and electric. In Namath's rookie season, Maynard snagged 68 passes for over 1,200 yards and a league-leading 14 touchdowns. Their connection reached its zenith in 1967, a historic season in which Namath became the first quarterback to ever throw for over 4,000 yards. Maynard was his primary target, leading the league with a career-high 1,434 receiving yards. He was the deep threat that made the Jets' explosive offense feared throughout the league. The absolute peak of Don Maynard's career should have been Super Bowl III, but the game itself ironically provides the biggest clue as to why he's so often overlooked. The New York Jets entered the game as massive 18-point underdogs to the vaunted Baltimore Colts of the NFL. The AFL was widely considered the inferior league, and few gave the Jets a chance. Maynard, the team's most dangerous offensive weapon, had put on a clinic in the AFL Championship game just weeks earlier, catching 6 passes for 118 yards and 2 crucial touchdowns against the Oakland Raiders. However, he had also sustained a severe hamstring injury in that game. He was hurting, and he was hurting badly. But the Colts defense, terrified of his game-breaking speed even at less than 100%, chose to double cover him for the entire game. The result was a statistical ghosting. Maynard finished Super Bowl III with 0 catches. But his impact was immeasurable. By drawing constant double teams, he became the ultimate decoy, creating wide-open opportunities for his teammates. Fellow receiver George Sauer had a monster game with 8 catches for 133 yards, and the Jets' running game found room to operate. The Jets pulled off one of the greatest upsets in sports history, winning 16-7, and Maynard's value was proven not by his numbers, but by the sheer terror he instilled in the opposition just by stepping on the field. As Namath himself later acknowledged, Maynard's influence on that game was hidden from the casual fan. When Don Maynard hung up his cleats in 1973, his resume was staggering. He was professional football's all-time leader in both receptions with 633 and receiving yards with 11,834. His yardage record stood for 13 years. He was the first receiver to hit the 10,000-yard milestone, a 4-time AFL All-Star, and a Super Bowl champion. He is, by every objective measure, a legend. So why the deafening silence in discussions about the all-time greats? Perhaps it was the lingering stigma of playing most of his career in the AFL, which many old guard fans and media refused to see as legitimate until after the Super Bowl III victory. Or maybe it's because his most famous contribution in the sport's biggest game was as a decoy, a role that doesn't lend itself to flashy highlights. And then there's the undeniable shadow cast by his larger-than-life quarterback, Broadway Joe Namath, whose celebrity often eclipsed the contributions of his teammates. Whatever the combination of reasons, the facts remain undeniable. Don Maynard was a pioneer who revolutionized the wide receiver position. He was a champion whose quiet professionalism and deceptive speed made him one of the most productive pass catchers the game has ever seen. His numbers at the time of his retirement were second to none. It's time we pull this legend out of the shadows and give him the respect he earned. Where does Don Maynard rank on your list of all-time great wide receivers? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video, and click on the notification bell. And don't forget to click on the playlist above to watch more NFL Hall of Famers of his era. Thanks for watching.